Hey everyone, this is Popo Gijo here, and this is part 2 of how to drift on wheel on CarX Drift Racing. If you haven't seen part 1, I would strongly suggest going to check it out. Part 1 covers tuning, wheel settings, and what cars are easier to learn how to drift on the wheel. If you haven't seen that already, I strongly suggest going to check that out before jumping into the sliding portion of the video. If all those things are stuff you already know, then don't worry about it. You'll be fine in this video. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Well, we now have a good tune, we now have good wheel settings, and we have a general idea of what we're going to be doing with our wheels. So I think we're ready to get to some drifting. Now, the first thing I'll say is when you're first learning to drift, you're going to want to just find a big open area that you can mess around in. So, for example, we're on Navarro Base. Navarro Base has a large open area in the middle here that we're going to right now. There's LA Block that has the large area where there's the sewage system. There's also the large parking lot. There's the Commu Road parking lot. All these places are great places to learn. They're all just open areas that you can practice in. So first thing we're going to learn is how to initiate a drift. There's multiple ways to initiate drift. We're just going to touch on a few of them. And then once you start getting better, you can start experimenting with other variations. So the first thing that you're going to generally do is weight transfer. So weight transferring is a great way to start a drift. You turn the opposite way, then turn the way you want to drift, and that'll get the weight of the car will break the tires loose along with some power. So right there is a weight transfer. Now, we're not going to be trying to focus on holding a drift right now. We're just going to be learning how to initiate. So once again, we turn the opposite way, then we turn the way we want to drift, and that is a weight transfer initiation. Now, you can use a weight transfer initiation with pretty much any other of the methods that we're going to cover, like clutch kicking, which is the next thing we're going to be doing here. So we're going to be driving, we're going to hold the clutch down, we're going to give throttle, we're going to let go of the clutch, which is going to cause the tires to spin very fast, steer in the direction we want to drift, and then start our counter steer. So we're going to walk you through here, giving it gas, clutch in, we're going to give lots of gas, let go of the clutch, and steer the way we want to steer. The car is going to naturally counter steer. All right, so we'll do that one more time just to make sure it's clear. You can see my feet down there, what they're doing. So we're putting the clutch in, giving throttle, RPMs are going up. Now when we drop the clutch, we're steering the way we want to initiate our drift. Let the wheel counter steer, now we're drifting, okay? So that's how you clutch kick or you initiate a drift with the clutch. And for the third method we're going to be touching, it's going to be the e-brake. So the e-brake is a great tool to have for drifting. You don't need it, but it is a great tool to have. And so we do have it, so we're going to be showing you how to initiate a drift with the e-brake. So in this case, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be driving. We're going to steer the car towards the side we want to initiate our drift on. And then we're going to clutch in, pull the e-brake, release the e-brake, and hold our drift. Let the wheel counter steer. So we're going straight, turn left slightly, pull the e-brake, drift's initiated. Now we're drifting, right? So we're going to do that one more time, walk you guys through. Driving straight, turn slightly to the right because we want to drift to the right. Clutch in, e-brake, let the wheel counter steer, and we initiated our drift. All right? So that is how you can initiate your drifts. Now, like I was saying earlier, you can put these things together. So I can do all three in one go if I want. I can weight transfer into an e-brake pull while dumping the clutch. So, for example, right, we're driving, weight transfer, clutch in, e-brake, and I drop the clutch with it being at max RPM, right? So depending on the situation, you're going to use these different techniques. It all depends on the corner and what you're trying to get out of the corner. All right, guys. So we know how to initiate our drifts, but we don't know how to hold our drift. So one thing that's very important when drifting on wheel is that you don't want to force the wheel. The wheel should naturally go where it needs to go. You just have to stop it once you find the desired angle. So when you're initiating a drift, like I was saying earlier, you want to turn slightly in the direction you want to drift in. As soon as you start your drift, you want to let the wheel auto correct and counter steer and catch your wheel at that right point so you can hold that angle. So a big part of maintaining your drift is going to be learning how to do that. It's also going to teach you or help you with doing your transitions. So I'm going to give you guys an example on what you're not going to want to do here, and it's force the wheel. You don't want to force the wheel. So I want to initiate a drift here. We're going to use the e-brake for an example. You guys see how I'm trying to force the wheel in a direction and I'm just giving full throttle. So I'm all over the place. I'm hand over hand. You know, at first you might be doing this, but try to stay away from that. All right, the proper way to do this would be to initiate my drift, turn as I'm initiating my drift, I'm turning in the direction I want to drift towards, and then I'm going to let the wheel slide in my fingers and go and counter steer for me, and I'm just going to catch the wheel where I want to maintain angle. So we're driving in a straight line, we're turning a little bit the way we want to drift, initiate, I let the wheel turn to where I want to hold that drift. You don't want to be holding RPM, you don't want to be bouncing off the rev limiter like I just was there, but I let the wheel turn, goes to the angle I want it to, and then I catch the wheel and I just maintain that drift. So we're going to do that again so you guys have another example. I'm going to try and slow it down a little bit. So we're driving, we're turning the way we want to, we initiate our drift, we let the wheel go in the direction that it has to counter steer, and we catch it at the desired angle, right? So we're not fighting the wheel, we're not using the steering wheel to try and hold our drift exactly where it is. We're not doing a bunch of inputs. We don't have to. All we have to do is hold that RPM, find the angle we want, and we just let the wheel do its thing, right? The next step to this would be now you can initiate and go into a drift. You're going to want to practice your drift control. So you're going to want to do circles at first. And at first you're going to be doing wide circles. Once you're comfortable doing wide circles, you're going to want to tighten up your circles and then go back out from your tight circle. So we're going to drive here. We're going to initiate drift. And we're going to just try and do circles, right? So we're keeping a steady RPM. We are letting the wheel do what it needs to. We're holding it at the desired angle. If we need to, we're doing little micro adjustments with the wheel, using our throttle to adjust our angle. Now, if we want to tighten up our circle, we're going to need more angle. So how do we get more angle while doing a circle? We can do some left foot braking to give ourselves more angle without going more to the outside. Or we can let the wheel turn a little bit more so that we have more angle and we tighten up our circle. So now our circle is getting tighter. We want to widen our circle out again. So we're going to take away a little bit of the angle with the steering wheel and we're going to give a little bit more throttle. So more throttle and less angle is going to give us a wider circle. More angle with less throttle is going to tighten up our circle, right? As you guys can see. Now you can also, like I was saying, use left foot braking to do this. So if I'm going to use my left foot brake and also throttle input while holding the same angle, you see how the circle is tightening way more than it was while just using throttle input? So this is one way to get a tighter circle. Now you let off the brake a little bit with that same angle, same throttle, same RPM, and now our circle is opening up. So this is something you want to practice. This is going to teach you left foot braking control. This is going to teach you throttle control. It's going to teach you all the basics you need to know for how to maintain a drift. Now once you have it in one direction, obviously you're going to want to stop and you're going to want to do it in the other direction. And same thing, you're going to want to get nice and wide circles. You have a nice angle. Now you want to tighten it up. Now you get more angle, a little bit less throttle. And we're tightening it up. And now we're going to give a little bit more throttle and a little less angle. And it's going to widen out again. All right. So once you have that down packed and you're 100% comfortable doing circles in both directions, you should be ready to learn how to do a transition. The next step now is probably the hardest part of drifting, and it's going to be learning how to transition. Learning how to transition is going to be something that there's no amount of videos you can watch. It's just something you have to practice. Now, hopefully my tips will help you get it down and will help you fine tune your transitions and make it a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, seat time is really what's going to teach you how to do transitions. But I'm going to tell you the tips that helped me learn how to do them. The first thing is trying to visualize your hands as brake calipers and visualizing the wheel as a brake rotor. So you're gonna be using your hands to slow the wheel down and catching it at the right angle. You're gonna let the wheel roll, do its thing, and then catch it at the right angle, slowing it down or opening up as need be. So that's one way to visualize what the wheel and your hands should be doing. The first thing we're gonna be taking a look at for transitions is throttle control, when to give more throttle, when to take away throttle for transitions. So depending on how tight your transition is, you might have to back off on the throttle, never fully, because you don't want the car to drop below 4,000, 3,000 RPM. Um, wherever your like torque and power threshold is, you don't want to drop below that. So even though when I say off the throttle, I don't mean all the way off the throttle. I mean off the throttle enough that you're not going to do a 360 in your transition, but when you get back into the throttle, you'll still have power. I'm gonna show you an example here. So if we're going a little bit faster for the gear, right? So right now we're going pretty fast in second gear. I won't have to let off the throttle. So I'm just gonna let the wheel slide through my finger. It's gonna transition. I catch the wheel where I want to hold the angle, right? So I'm holding the angle. I like this angle here. We're holding it. Now I want to transition. We're going pretty fast, so I'm just gonna let the wheel slide through my fingers and catch the wheel at the desired angle. Now, because we're going so fast, we can just hold that steady RPM and keep it going. If we were going slower at a more aggressive angle, if we were to try and do that, we would most likely spin out. So, for example, we're going to be doing a lot sharper of a corner here. We're holding a lot tighter of an angle. Now I'm going to transition. I almost spun out there. I was able to save it full lock, but that's an example there on when you would potentially have to let off the throttle a little bit and then go back on the throttle at the right moment when you catch your angle. So this is something, like I was saying, that you're just going to have to practice and get a feel for, but hopefully these tips can help you a little bit get an idea of when you should be letting off and getting back on the throttle. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do a tighter angle, and we're going to go to transition. This time we're going to let off slightly and then get back in the power once we're transitioned and we're almost at the angle we want to get. So let's go tight angle here. Now we're going to go to transition. We're going to let off for a sec and then back on the power, right? So this is allowing us to make a nice slow smooth transition and then not doing a 360, right? So same thing. We had to do a little clutch grab there to save it. I was even a little too aggressive. So let's tighten up here, nice tight corner. We're going to be doing a left transition. Going to let off for a sec, back on the fuel. All right, now when to let off of the fuel and back on the fuel is going to be something that you're just going to have to learn. If you pay attention to the video, you can kind of get an idea. It's right before you're about to go past that being completely straight, right? That's right when you're going to want to let go and then give throttle again. If you do it too late, you'll end up still spinning out. If you do it too early, like here, you'll just end up sticking and straightening out. Before we move on to the next segment, I just want to point something out here. If you're playing on a simulator or on a steering wheel, I'm going to assume that you're using a clutch. You should be using a clutch. The clutch can be a useful tool in many ways. But we're just going to touch one reason why using the clutch is pretty important for when it comes to drifting. And trying to save potentially bad transitions. Let's say we aren't able to just let off the throttle. The car is just spinning around too fast and we think we're going to do a 360. We can clutch in and try and save that drift. So we transition a little too quick. It's going to go too far. We clutch in and then we power back in. Now, this isn't going to look pretty, but this can save a run, or it can save you from fully doing a 360, right? Oh, we're going too far, we can clutch in and we can save it and then keep our drift going. So keep in mind that the clutch can also be used as a tool to stop yourself from over rotating or even just to slow yourself down mid drift, right? And one last thing I want to touch on is we're gonna go ahead and get into another tight circle here, and we're gonna go to do a transition out of it. Now, if we never catch the wheel and we just let the wheel spin, we're always going to be guaranteed to do 360 because we're never stopping the car at the desired angle. So making sure you catch the wheel at the right time and potentially doing slight adjustments while doing towards the end of your transition is going to be very important on making sure you hold that angle once you're done your transition and you don't just end up doing a 360. You want to make sure you catch the wheel at the desired angle or just before full lock or at full lock, because anything more than that with throttle input will cause you to do a 360. So one thing I forgot to touch on is what kind of camera view you're using. To me personally, it was a lot easier for me to learn in third person camera. For you, it might be completely different. For you, it might be easier to learn first person. It might be easier to learn hood cam. It might be easier with the drone cam. You know, it all depends on what you like and what feels right for you. A lot of guys that have like sim rigs or steering wheels say that if you're not drifting in first person, you're not actually drifting on the wheel, and they try and gatekeep how you should be drifting, and they're trying to tell you how you should be having fun. I don't agree with any of that. I think that if you're playing the game, right? It is a game at the end of the day, and you're having fun, then you're doing it right. So it doesn't matter what camera angle you use, whether it's third person, first person, drone cam, hood cam. If you're having a good time and the game is a little bit easier for you in that sense, well then just play like that. If you do want to learn how to drift in first person, for me it was easier to learn in third person first and then learn how to drift in first person. It might be the same case for you. It might be the opposite. It might be easier for you to learn in first person and then eventually go to third person for more, aesthetically pleasing shots when you're running tandems and you got a big train behind you or something. So just keep that in mind. Who cares what other people say? At the end of the day, if you're playing a game and you're having fun and it doesn't affect other people's fun, who cares? Just have a good time. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for today's video. If this video was helpful in any way, I'd really appreciate if you guys drop a like. And if this content is something that you enjoy watching, well, I would also appreciate a subscribe. We're going to be making more how-to videos with a little bit more in-depth stuff, like or more technical stuff, like left foot braking, how to utilize the clutch more in drifting, how to utilize the e-brake, when to utilize it, a little more in depth. We're also going to be covering, how to do certain stunts, like we could make how to 360, how to 270, reverse entry, all that kind of stuff, if that's something you guys are interested in. So if you guys feel like I missed anything, please let me know in the comments what you think I missed, or if there's any questions you guys have that the video didn't cover, please let me know. I'd be glad to make another video and elaborate on whatever you guys' questions are. Well, with that being said, that's going to be everything for today's video. Thanks for watching, and happy drifting.